My name is Lexi, so super great to get to chat with you today. I wanted to first touch on how you just put out an album in October called Blame It All on Love, and I'm curious how this album has felt compared to your previous albums and like your discography lineup. How do you feel this kind of fits into that?
Well, yeah, it's the fourth album. So the first three were the first one was sort of the blueprint of what Poolside was supposed to be. And there was not really a lot of ambition originally in Poolside. It was just kind of a weekend project that just kept growing. So that was kind of that was like chiefly the idea of what Poolside was or would be. And so then the second album, it was like, okay, well, what do we do not to sound like regurgitating the first album, but still stick with the kind of concept of Poolside? And so it's always felt like this. First three records were just felt like this expanding upon the idea that were all presented on the first record, which isn't a bad thing. It's just like, well, how do we kind of expand what this sound is, but keep it in the same zone? And with this most recent record, Blame It All on Love, I just like ignored all of everything. Like I just started writing, kind of giving myself permission to write whatever I felt like, knowing maybe like none of it would make the album, but just write songs in the same way I did maybe before Poolside existed, just kind of picking up a guitar or getting on a piano, like less dance music, like starting with the drum beat or a bass, less computer, like staring at a computer screen, and more just working with instruments to begin. And yeah, so I think strangely enough, in the sounds and the record, just it didn't sound as far away from Poolside as I was expecting. Coming from a completely different mindset and different sort of style, it's still all, there's a bit more difference, for sure. It's not, so it sounds a bit different from the first three records, but not so much that it was like, whoa, this would never work as a Poolside record. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. The approach was just to like have no approach and just go back to like kind of how I felt when I was in high school writing my first songs in my like parents' house, just kind of trying to come up with cool riffs or whatever, and like having fun with it in a different way. And luckily enough, it didn't deviate from the sound or style of Poolside radically, and I was able to use it all for this record.
I love that. That's a great way to kind of approach a fourth album. I feel like everyone's trying to do something new and different, but being able to just kind of drop all of your previous ways you approached it is awesome. I guess kind of a follow-up question there, since I saw online that you also were a fellow trumpet player, and I
Nice.
myself was a trumpet player before I switched to low brass. So how did learning music in your childhood kind of influence your love for music and wanting to be a musician in your adulthood?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just I didn't even know why. Like, I just remember in junior high, or I mean, sorry, not even junior high. That was when but in elementary school, they were just like, "Who wants to play an instrument?" And for no particular known reason, I never thought. I was just like, "Oh hell yes!" Like, I was really drawn to the idea. Um, and I originally wanted to play drums, but my parents were like, "No way." And then I think saxophone was my next choice. And then the band was like, "We have way too many saxophonists." And then so I was like, I think, and then I wanted to play cornet. And then they were like, "Well, here, take this trumpet." It's like close enough. But with that said, I didn't really, I just turned to playing music. And I feel like it was just one of the early ways. Like, I'm from the suburbs of San Diego, and it was pretty, I don't know, homogenized upbringing, for lack of a better way to explain. And so it was just one of the few areas where it felt like you could express yourself like somewhat personally, like in a way that wasn't just like being on a sports team or getting good grades or something that, you got sort of, strokes in a positive way for, but didn't really
Mhm.
feel unique to me. So it just felt like something it could be me, which I was really craving at that time in retrospect. And yeah, funny enough, now whenever I play like synth leads and stuff, everyone always is like, "Man, it sounds like a horn lead." And I'm like, "Yeah, I played trumpet, I guess." and it being like, one of the bummers with it, as you may relate, it's like a mono instrument. It's not like you cannot play chords or anything. So it actually took me quite a while to, I still like sometimes with chords and things get a little more stuck than my friends who, play piano or guitar or like took a ton of music theory. I'm like, I'm just gonna make all these little lead lines, and put them together. So so that's one of the. But yeah, ultimately, I think just playing music in a band and collaborating with other musicians and being part of a team that makes, you have this like composition, you're trying to perform well and everyone's part of it. And yeah, just like I think it really got that in me early, like the sort of joy or beauty or satisfaction that can come from like just playing music well.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you on I wanted to play saxophone so bad. And then they were like, no, we have too many saxes. And then same thing happened with percussion. So trumpet fell into my lap, but I found love for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. It's like sort of like Denny's. You end up there. You don't ever be like you never go to Denny's.
No,
You're like,
exactly.
okay.
Um, that's so funny. Kind of a different related question, but in light of being February and Valentine's Day, would you say you actually do blame it all on love, like your album is titled?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's a it has like multiple meanings that all aren't all like tied together, so to speak. Like it's sort of like a romantic concept or a concept based around romantic love, but also based around like love and passion for what you're doing. And like, I think it quite literally with me, when you follow your passion of music, a lot of hardships come along from doing that, as anyone who's talking about music would know. But then, also similarly, romantic love where you kind of do dumb things and freak out about things that you shouldn't freak out about, and all these other parts of you kind of come out when you're in love, both good and bad. And then just like life in general, like when you're just sort of say you're, trying to do something in life, usually whatever you're doing is based around love. And even if it's like you are doing something you hate, usually the only reason you would do that is for something you love. Like if you have to support your family, so to speak, you'd be working shoveling soil or something so that you can support your loved ones, or or if you're working at a cafe to support your music career or what have you. There's just like all of these things where I'm like kind of realized or perhaps came to a conclusion that we'll see if that I retain this, but like where like almost everything seems to be inspired by love, even though we don't really think of it that way, or I don't. And there's plenty of darkness all around, but ultimately everyone's sort of kind of driven by love. So that was essentially the concept of the album, which has a lot of different takes, but they all kind of relate back to that framework, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. That was really eloquently put. Um, Kind of not really related question, but I have been an active fan of your playlist on Spotify called Daytime Disco. But I'm just curious, given that it's so different in the way that it's curated, what are some of the ways that you discover music for that? And yeah, and just are able to update that so regularly.
Well, I mean, I've been a huge music nerd for quite a long time. I worked in a record store in San Francisco for 5 or 6 years, and being a DJ, I was primarily a DJ for almost 10 years, and so I've just always had a broad taste in music and really liked kind of finding through lines. And things aren't so genre specific anymore. I mean, to some extent they are, but it's not as narrow-minded where you could only be like a metalhead or a jazz guy or whatever. Now you can be everything. But nevertheless, I just liked finding connections between different genres of music. So yeah, it was essentially it's all kind of came natural to me, and just how I really like most of the music that's on the playlist are things I discovered years ago. Most all of it is pretty old or retro music. Not a lot of contemporary stuff is usually on them, occasionally, but but yeah, so it's in general just from being a record store nerd and shopping at traditional record stores, and then getting to know the person who worked in every like genre, and just being like, yo, what's up? Like, what's the good stuff? And just doing that for like, 15 years or something. You learn a lot. And then when streaming came out, I never got into MP3s or CDs. I just kind of went from vinyl to streaming. So streaming just made it really, I think, easier to discover more esoteric stuff, because you could just dive down like a rabbit hole like you would on maybe a Wikipedia, but you could actually listen to the song without spending a lot of money. Before, you had to take a lot of chances and be like, man, is this jazz fusion record worth $10? Or do I really want to discover if I like this or not? Like, it was a lot harder to just make decisions on, should I try to see if I like this new thing. So in general, though streaming has a lot of flaws, I really like it as a listener. And then plus, making a playlist is quite simple. I just have like several master lists, like giant lists of different types, and then I just go into that, like those big master lists, and then like pull out 20 songs every week from them, just kind of based around how I'm feeling. So that's how it all goes down.
That's such a great way to look at it, and so cool that you were able to gain so much music knowledge from working at the record store, so I could discover all music like in an organic way as opposed to, like you said, streaming. How do you think the age of new disco versus, like some of the iconic 60s, 70s era has shifted in recent years? So I know there was like a resurgence of like this quote unquote new disco kind of back in the 2010s, but how do you feel like it's kind of shifted in this most recent years post COVID?
I don't know. I mean, that's the short answer, but I can say it's shifted from having a resurgence to not really feeling relevant. But I think there's like, I don't think disco's influence is like dissipated at all.
Hmm.
So, and then there's acts like jungle, I'd say, are almost even more traditional disco than new disco. And trying to think of who else, like, or contemporary, like jungle, Neil Francis, are some friends that, they're kind
Yes.
of more synthy than actual disco. But yeah, I think it kind of influencing it. But yeah, disco was just the birth of dance music, of music that was created for dance floors rather than created for live. It was the first music that was really created with the DJ in mind. So in a lot of respects, that's just like, never going away, perhaps, or, just always going to be present as long as people are dancing. So the disco's influence will always be strong.
Absolutely. That's a really good way to put it. And you definitely mentioned some of my favorites. Absolutely obsessed with Neil Francis. Love Jungle, love those guys. So definitely agree. But to your point about, I guess, the DJ aspect versus like a live band, I know that you're currently on tour, and have been able to like translate your studio songs to live performances with instruments. Have you found that to be difficult? Kind of taking that more synth electronic sound from like a soundboard into moving that into like an instrument play.
Yes and no. I mean, it's hard to answer that with a binary like response, but
Yeah,
in certain ways, very difficult. In other ways, I would say the music that Poolside, in a way, it's almost harder to translate the music that Poolside typically makes into a DJ environment, because it's so slow and a lot of it is very organic, that really it felt like kind of strange to just for DJing to be the main way people would experience like the songs.
definitely.
So I mean, the DJing thing was great, and I made a lot of remixes myself for DJing, and had people remix the songs, and a variety of things that made the DJ sets totally awesome. But just some of the original numbers just like didn't really like feel like they made sense as a DJ. So on some level, I think the opposite is more true in that it's harder to make this. One of the things I really like about the music is it's not super fast. It's not really wasn't really made for dance floors, so it's kind of weird. Even though like as a DJ, it was sort of at first a bit of a rebellion against like the sort of banger dance floor music. And at any rate, yeah. So doing it live feels more. I don't know the word. Authentic's what comes to mind, but it's not the perfect word. But like it just feels more aligned with what the music is. Like you can get this like expression of the songs. Live is sort of the like ultimate expression of the songs, like what they should be. But with that said, yeah, I mean we have a sometimes up to a 7-piece band, between 5 and 7 pieces. We have to rehearse for weeks and weeks to get things right. There's like lots of vocal layers in the songs that we have to practice. Like it's just so much work. It's so hard in terms of just it takes with DJing. Like I got good at that many years ago, so I really just have to like add new songs to my USB stick, and I'm going to be fine to
Right.
DJ. Whereas with a live band, it's just way more work, way more pressure. Anyone who makes a small mistake is it's noticeable. All these things, which in part is also what makes it more rewarding. But yeah, it's not so much hard to do, but it's just a lot of effort to do it right. And I'd say we're finally doing it right in the way that I feel like honors the music. Whereas before we were just trying our best, but it was so much work that didn't really seem feasible to really get it perfect. So we did a good job, but now I feel like this is aligned with what I want it to be for the first time, maybe ever. It's just like, okay, we're delivering something like really, really that's worthy of the songs. Like it's really live and still sounds like the record both. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
Absolutely. I mean, no, playing anything live is a feat in itself. Great that you have like, so many band members as well, able to be so succinct. I am curious, what is maybe one of your favorite songs to play live versus the studio version?
I mean, I don't. I mean, I could say maybe for sure. Like when I DJ around the sun, I always do the body music remix
Oh,
because it's
nice.
really good. Because they did a really great job of turning it into a dance song. But before they did that, anytime it's one of our biggest songs, it just felt like completely stupid to DJ it. It's like a sort of like playing like it's like a more of a I don't know, I want to say rock, but it's not like a dance song.
Right.
So like that's like an example of the type of song that I feel like just wouldn't really lend itself well to a DJ set, but works really good
Definitely.
live. Which generally most songs I'd say feel that way. So they're but that song in particular feels really good live. Feels really like musical and appropriate. And yeah, in a DJ set, I would always have to play a remix.
I'm very excited to hear you guys at M3F for that. How would you say that energy in the crowd differs on a festival set versus like one of your headlining shows?
I mean, it sort of depends on where, because sort of in South America and Mexico, crowds are very exuberant, no matter
Hmm.
what the situation is. But outside of Latin America, we'll call it South Latin Mexico, whatever. Yeah, like you have a little more subdued because a lot of, I mean, we've been playing pretty big slots at festivals where there's like 10 to 50,000 people. So obviously not all of them bought tickets to the festival strictly to see Poolside. Like, so, there's like a lot of people who are passive fans who are checking it out probably for the first time. So but I will say the music actually fits very well at a festival. So I really like playing festivals. Well, some artists don't because it's not exclusively hardcore fans, but the music for Poolside, especially the first 3 albums, were really just intended to be like groovy music to hear outdoors at a park or kind of like exactly a festival setting. So yeah, I think the music translates really well in a festival. So I really enjoy them. Um, but yeah, I think with like in a club setting where we're the headliner and everyone's bought tickets to see us, we're doing like encores and crowds usually very like very hyped to see us. So on that level, it's probably can be more fun to play a club show as a headliner. But on another level, it's really nice to see so many people like vibing, for a better, like a better word, to the music. And I think as a musician who's been in this a long time, it's like I try not to forget that the whole reason you start off making music is just to affect one person. Like just one person being like, man, I liked your song is like would be. And so the fact that there's like 50,000 people doing that, it's very special. So that's sort of the differences, and it's hard to choose one versus the other.
Absolutely. No, I hear it. I feel like my favorite thing about festivals is discovering new artists, like you said, and like there's so many artists that have touched me while I'm like, wow, I've never heard of them, but now I'm like going to go deep dive their entire discography. So that's the cool part I'd say about performing at festivals.
I like it too because I'm so busy with my own world that I rarely go out to shows unless it's actually a good friend who's in town or something. So it's nice to be at a festival and just be able to check out like six bands, but you're kind of curious about or whatever. Like
Definitely.
going to the buffet.
So do you say you would like stay the weekend as well, like if you were at a festival?
Usually, no, I don't have time, but if I do, or it's like in a location I want to stay, but these days things have gotten the schedules have gotten really crazy. So yeah, I'm like usually have someplace to be the day before and the day after. But yeah, we were able to, and we played Austin City Limits, and I stayed
Mhm.
that the second day, second weekend, second day, and that was pretty fun. See a bunch of bands, and
Oh, I'm sure.
sometimes lately I've been DJing a festival on one day and playing live the next day. So then that's like 2 days of festivaling. So I got to see like Modest Mouse recently at a festival. They were really awesome. Just stuff that I've always been wanting to see and finally get to see it. So it's cool.
That is so cool. Relating, I guess, to M3F, is this your first time performing in a festival in Arizona?
I know this will probably be we've done two. I know one was kind of like a hippie festival called like maybe it's not even in Phoenix, but Jim and Jam, I feel like is what it was called. There's a couple of festivals we've done in Arizona. I forget the other one, but this will be the first one in a long time. It's like, we haven't, we took a hiatus on the live band from like, I don't know, for a while. And so this is kind of the first time we're really coming full force. We were supposed to in 2020, but then, as you
Hmm.
probably recall, there was a pandemic. So that put the kibosh on that. But yeah, so this is really the first time since maybe 2015, 14 that we're really fully embraced the live band and pushing it. So it'll be the very first time with the live band, and it will be the first time in a long time doing anything in Arizona at all. So yeah, I'm excited to be there again.
Amazing. No, very exciting. And I think March is the perfect time for Phoenix because it's not too hot just yet. But I saw that you guys have the time slot for 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. with like no artists overlapping on the main stage, which I feel like in my mind is the perfect festival set time because it's like right as the daytime is transitioning into the nighttime and I don't know, the vibes are there. So how are you guys planning on kind of bringing your daytime disco vibes into the nighttime disco?
Um, I don't think we're planning. We're just going to like play the songs, but I think that's literally sort of what they were made for. Like,
Right.
so I don't think we need to do too much planning there. It's just getting out there and doing the songs. But yeah, that's one of the cool things about the band is like some bands like a daytime slot isn't ideal, and like so many acts, especially in electronic music, rely on like pyro and a ton of crazy stage sort of production is like half of the battle of being a modern electronic artist. So I
Hmm.
think one of the cool things about Poolside is we're literally, even though we have a lot of electronics, we're kind of just like people playing music, like in a traditional sense. So playing at sunset is a very perfect spot for us rather than something we're wishing was later. We're like, this is ideal. So that's why I'm excited about that type of time slot.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, such a perfect time slot. And nobody else overlapping is always ideal. So I know you already talked about Neil Francis, but I did have a question since they were at last year's M3F. And then this year there's also Drama, who you collaborated with. Um, is there any, or has there been any specific favorite collaborations you've had to date?
Um, I mean, there's been so many, and sort of to say one would be to diminish the others. So I will say I'm 100% equally excited about every collaboration I've ever had.
That's a good way to definitely not hurt anyone's feelings. I agree. They're all great. Is there one artist you're hoping to collaborate with in the future?
Um, yeah, tons, but I feel like there's a couple that are pending, but I think it would be until it's for sure that they're happening. I don't think I can discuss it, but yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff coming soon that I'm very excited about. So you'll just have to, follow us everywhere we're followable to find out.
Perfect. I will keep my eyes open. Just given that M3F, the 100% of the proceeds go to charity, was there any charitable causes that you wanted to shout out or, let people know so they can be aware of?
Um, I'm aware that that is the case, but I didn't really know that we were specifically involved in choosing. But I know in the past when we've done that, we've done a lot of stuff with sponsoring music programs in areas where finances are not abundant in various countries as well as within the United States. So I imagine that is where we'll be putting our resources from that. It feels just like personal to me in that it just feels like such a positive way to spend your time that also can be inspiring and expressive. That if there was more programs like that, I think it would do a lot of good for a lot of people. So yeah, that's the general area that we donate to when we have opportunities like this.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. And I agree. I think music should be accessible to everyone. So that's a great pick. Is there any other artists on the lineup for the festival that you're looking forward to?
Definitely say drama for sure. We've been friends for a long time. We took them on the tour. One of their like in maybe 2018 or so, they opened for us for a few shows when they were first starting their live thing.
That's awesome.
And I've known Niall's brother for like a long time, so like I kind of like I've been listening to Niall's music from his brother since he was like probably in junior high or high school. So yeah, like they're yeah, and I'm a big fan of both Via and Niall. They're super great people, and yeah, they did a great job with the I Feel High collab that we did. So yeah, maybe we're playing the same, do something special. But yeah, they're definitely somebody I'm excited about generally speaking, and yeah, our relationship makes it even more exciting.
I am excited. No, I haven't seen them live yet, so I'm very, very excited. Hoping you guys are able to do something fun on stage together, since I know you guys' times are like literally back to back. So hopefully something can work out there.
Oh,
But
I mean, back to back, that might make it easier,
exactly.
but thanks for letting me know.
Of course. And excited to see you perform. I'll definitely hit up your set, but thank you again for your time. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
of course. Well, thanks for the good questions, and definitely come say hi.
I will. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your day and good luck on tour tonight.
Thanks so much. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.